inhabitants of the World Wide Web, how's life? Fantasia. Fantasia is an incredibly famous film. If you haven't watched Fantasia, then you definitely would have heard of it, and you would definitely remember one of the stories from the film. Disney World themselves have paid homage in multiple ways to this section of the film. In Hollywood Studios, they had a Fantasia-shaped shrub outside the park, and you also had the most famous statue in Hollywood Studios, the Sorcerer's Hat. Notice how I said had. Earlier this year, the hat was unfortunately taken down and removed from its place in the park. Its home is now lying in pieces on some place in Disney property, which is a right shame because I quite liked that hat. I got one of my pins from the shop underneath the hat. The hat was beautiful. Will it return? We don't know. There's rumours that it's going to go on in other places of the park. It's rumours that it's just going to be dead for the rest of time. Chances are they may find somewhere for it to go, because they did that with Mickey's Eiffel Tower before. Because before the hat, they had Mickey's Eiffel Tower, which was like a massive oil tower rig thing. I don't know what they're actually called. Forgive me for being so dumb, but I don't actually know what they're called and I can't be asked to find it out. But basically it was just Mickey's face on this tower thing and they called it the Eiffel Tower. Notice their play on puns. Disney need help. I've heard rumours that they're going to put the hat where the shrub is, and it's going to be outside the park rather than inside the park, but chances are they're going to leave it in pieces somewhere on Disney property. So if you were lucky enough to have your picture taken in front of that hat, well done you. Probably will never be able to have another one again. And if you weren't lucky enough to have that picture done, I'm sorry. It's a shame you've missed it. It's too late now. You will also find references to Fantasia in Disney's Film Magic in Magic Kingdom. This put Donald in the same shoes as Mickey had in that exact story. And there are also other references to Disney classics such as The Little Mermaid and Aladdin, and there are loads more. I think Tangled's in there as well. I don't know, I saw it last year. My memory is terrible. Right, anyway, back to the film. Fantasia, for all of you who don't know, is a silent film created by Disney Studios telling multiple different stories. To my knowledge, this was the first Disney film to combine both live action and animation. The stories in this film require no dialogue from the actual characters themselves, just from the conductor, Leopold Stokowski. Stokowski? I'm gonna say Stokowski, probably wrong, but Stokowski. And as the Philadelphia Orchestra play some of the most famous pieces in classical music history, they cut the stories that are mentioned, like The Sorcerer's Apprentice. As you know by now, I love the Disney animation style. I think they do a fantastic job each time they animate in a classic way because it's just incredibly stunning. But in my opinion, this film holds the most stunning animation out of the lot of them. If you haven't already guessed what this was, let me show you. The background in the Pastoral Symphony is just exquisite, but when you actually get to the actual centaurs themselves, they just take your breath away. So this by far has to be my most favourite story from Fantasia. One, because it's so aesthetically pleasing, but two, it's a love story and you can see the different characters fall in love with each other, and I'm just a really incredibly sickly lovey-dovey person. The Sorcerer's Apprentice would have to rank second in my favourites of the film. Those scenes are almost as stunning as the Pastoral Symphony. The fact that this film had split up and used the classics of the music world, had critics calling it a masterpiece. And in my opinion, they aren't wrong. The premiere at the Cathay Circle Theatre in LA was a proper posh do, apparently. It was big and attracting some 5,000 people, including a young Shirley Temple. Why is Shirley Temple important in this instance? Recognise this kid? There you go, Shirley Temple. Turns out Temple was a regular face around the Disney-themed events. She was the me of the 1940s, basically. Fantasia. Stop going off topic. Edwin Scarlett of the Los Angeles Times considered the film to be a magnificent achievement in film and would go down in the history of film as a landmark film. So many films in that sentence, which it has. And nowadays the film has been given 7.6s and 8.6s out of 10 on both IMDb and Rotten Tomatoes. That's 0.1 more than Pinocchio. Which is actually unfair because Pinocchio compared to Fantasia wasn't that great. And there are much darker and scarier scenes in Fantasia, like on Night on Bald Mountain. If I saw this film as a child, I'd be permanently scarred for life. In the 1960s, Fantasia was recalled and had to be re-edited due to some scenes of an offensive nature. During the Pastoral Symphony, there was a scene of a white centaur having her hooves polished by a black centaur. And this sparked outcry as many members of the audience saw it as a racist representation of slavery. Make of that what you will. I mean, personally, I want to believe that it wasn't racist. I want to believe it was just an accident that people were then like, that's racist, that's bad. But given the dates and the times of animation and the more popular belief back then, I'm gonna say that it was. And that hurts, but chances are it probably was, and it was a good thing it was taken off. Anyway, the scene was removed and released and re-released again. But yeah, still there in the first place. Just because it was re-released doesn't make it okay. Unfortunately, the soundtrack on this film, as I've mentioned, were covers of classics. So unfortunately there was no actual original Disney soundtrack, which is a complete shame because Disney soundtracks are just magnificent. And then you have the classics come through and I'm like, ugh, they're great, but nothing compared to Disney soundtracks. Disney soundtracks trump it all. I need to calm down. Nevertheless, the film won 2 Academy... I cannot say this one. Nevertheless, the film won 2 Academy Honorary Awards, including Stokowski's musical contribution to the film. Fantasia remains to be one of my most favourite Disney films and one of the world's most favourite Disney films. You have to remember this film broke the mould in filmmaking. It was the first Disney film, to my knowledge, to have both live action and animation combined into one film, and it was the first one to tell multiple stories using multiple soundtracks, and since then I personally have not seen anything like it, and that is the truth. Although that's not strictly true, because a Mickey's Once Upon a Christmas, Twice Upon a Christmas. Yeah, okay, apart from 2 Christmas films, I've not seen anything else like it, and both of those are from Disney. Anyway, I know this film was a lot shorter than the others, but when it comes to Fantasia, it's one of those films that you have to experience yourself. I can't really talk much about it, because then I'll spoil all the beautiful stories. I need to learn to breathe, that I'm not doing. Anyway, that's all from me for now. Thanks for your time, I'll see you on Friday. Have a great day wherever you are. And I've messed up my own ending. Bye! I'm not with it today.